So it looks like the Bitcoin finally made it back to the seller's window on the rooftop of the week, the tippy top of this, in this very tight uh, kind of pivot resistance stuff. Never made it to here. There's got to be a gob of people selling there. And then you can only imagine how many people are going to sell from here to the top of the weekly wick, which is mind-blowingly, this is where it just becomes apparent that it's about how tight is your stop. In the end, it really is. So I would fix the scale on any instrument and ask yourself, how many times do you want to re-enter that trade? If you're getting stopped out of a perfectly good trade that's a giant so-called position trade or swing trade, where it's a giant time frame. I mean, you look at it by New Zealand dollar, Australian dollar, you're looking for these markets to crash into your limits on whatever time frame. A crash 50 pips deep is different than a crash that's 300 pips deep, and you're just watching it tank and just cracking up when you hear people telling you how it's bullish. Right, so you can fade all the people that are lagging because finally their moving average caught up. Their indicators caught up and like little ducks made it across the road. And so what you're saying is that, yeah, I know I had the wrong size tires on the car, and I know the car's kind of mushy, but I'm driving based on that's mushy. Whereas some people want it to have tight as fuck. I just want to have it like the steering's connected to the tires, and I don't have any kind of overly cushioned Nerf driving machine. My pure price history, I don't know, I guess it took action to get the price there, so I've been doing some searches for price action, trying to figure out what people mean by that. Some people mean that the price has acted and now it's sitting at a key level. All these terms, key levels, all this stuff. But I'm always watching every video thinking, yeah, I know, but what do you do about that price action? What do you do about it? How you make money from it? What kind of order treatment does it need in certain hotspot areas, and how would you trade it? And if you do make money on that trade, you're going to say, I should have traded it bigger. That was an amazing, stupid trade. Like, it's different than the moving average systems where I guess you're waiting for the confluence. The cloud says, I think the cloud traders are using a 52 period moving average or something. 54 or something weird. Okay, so I got this bias. Well, you're trading to the bias. As long as you're scalping out of your trades, you can trade counter trend or a trend trade, because as long as you can take something off the table on the initial risk. And are you scaling in and scaling out? Are you going to scale in and then do a hard dump? So the best really is scale in and then hard dump it, or dump whatever's to the target. So the last, whatever, you have to have layered orders in there. Otherwise, you have to make too many premium decisions that may never happen. Like, you could have entries that are like mind-blowing, but your frequency of trading is going to be so infrequent that, yeah, you better bet pretty hard on that trade, because you'll never make enough money on these. I mean, they're crazy, like there's trades that probably are 4 months out. That's some entry point. Obviously, we all can see it on the chart. It's going to take 4 fucking months for the price to either throttle there or drift there or just, whatever. It's always going to be a good price. And besides, every price on the way to that price is a good price in some type of momentum, a retracement, or even follow through. Once the market goes into quiet mode with enough layers, at least 10 layers of orders, you're going to maybe lose 25% because you had to put in where you got trapped on one leg But if you're talking about a consolidation that's going on for a long time, the odds go up that when it does break, it's going to break very hard. And this is where you also have to have targets that are 50 and 100 pips. And why you really have to have a special account, one account per instrument, because you'll never be able to, even though you're right in the end, you're wasting resources on the margin and the commissions. It's hard to keep track if you're actually making money on that one idea, because if it's all commingled and you're making money, you're going to say, unless you have something that's going to spit out a spreadsheet, and then you got to go fuck with that, and then you got to think, well, was I really paying attention to the other currency when I used to lay in bed and do euro to the pound, euro to the dollar, and think to myself, this shouldn't be that hard. And I was just launching all of these scripts that were the same for both because they kind of traded the same amount of movement, although the euro to the pound could go berserk. And I was kind of making money. This is a little bit after the news. I thought, God, it's really doing good. This just kind of randomly, in a way, the volatility was down on both instruments, and just like, these breakout strategies, it was doing pretty fair. And I actually kind of disappointed that it was doing so good because it was such a stupid approach. But in that moment, and of course, I was also doing both currencies, so I really couldn't tell what I saw in the chart based on the script that I was running, whether it was pure stop entry. Now, you could run pure stop entry. I'm not saying you couldn't trade like that. The market's going up, starts to stall out. You're putting in sell stops underneath. You're going to be the stop. You're going to let them fill you on the hunt. Or are you buying as it plunges down? Whatever time frame, whatever you could afford, even I say the easiest trading would be if you could be awake 24 hours and every hour you looked at the chart and you go, okay, you know what? It's in the buy zone. They're just about to start to fill my limits here in the next 50 pips, but we don't know if it's going to take 5 hours to move 50 pips or 5 seconds. So the problem is that, the best trade is going to be the logical trade where there's a pocket that's untapped and people let go of the ball and the market drops, or the other currency is stronger or whatever. In other words, order and balance causes the market to take off in either direction because it's going, actually goes from balance to imbalance, because when you're dojied out, it's kind of like everybody kind of agrees, and there's really got to be a reason to tip it. Somebody's going to think that, people that are in it are probably going to get out because nothing's going on. And then there's people that on the sidelines, and then there's really no reason to even trade it. Like, what would it matter if you're going into the weekend or was going into the holidays? And that's when you'd see that huge gap when people come back to because it has been trading somewhere and the market's going to catch up. That's when the market closes. You always see these gaps in commodities, which was basically why you really couldn't trade pork bellies. Stuff that moves a limit, you couldn't do it because it would just, get crushed, even in a small position. Where these markets, there's no such thing as a market call on most of these brokers aren't going to, margin call is not real. It's just a phrase. They're not going to ask you to put more money in the account. But so yeah, you're looking at the Bitcoin here, and it comes up in this window, which is absolutely psychotic. Would just be a matter of saying, well, I'm going to start selling everything above the close. So I go from the this wick window here. Now, if you sold the top of that, claiming that on the weekly that is the weekly resistance, that's a good trade. And if you're looking for another resistance point, I'm sure on the way to there, of course, we actually, like the guy that sold on the big up day, that's the kind of market end of the week you're selling. If he put a stop in just above that, he got stopped out. So like he kind of got stopped out. Like it really depends what stop hunt you're talking about. Are they stop hunting the scalpers on the 1 minute? Here would have been like they trapped the breakout traders, you could claim. Also in this other video, the guy says if the market's going up really hard into area, do not sell it. Just weird stuff people say. I mean, the stuff that people say in these videos, the people are saying this is how you trade, is, yeah, that might be one good trade plan or one good strategy, but you need about 10 strategies to really kind of soften the, well, some are going to infrequently trade and some are going to be high frequency trading. So if you're committed to trading the 15-minute chart and you're like, okay, I'm going to, I don't even know, you have to trade pretty big on that 15-minute chart to make it worth your while. Now, if a 1 hour chart, okay, market's going sideways, you know what? We're going to about to, like this chart here. If this was a 1 hour chart, yeah, we're probably going to come popping up here, and I'd sell limits all the way to the thing here for a pullback. But it's like you kind of have to anticipate how brutal and how far can they push this. This is the Bitcoin right now, but it could be the 1 hour chart. You've already seen these kind of trades on the 1 hour chart. They actually exist. Like market starts to triangulate here. All markets, all data is the same in a way. I mean, I could take this and manipulate it and say all sorts of stuff here at the top of Bitcoin. Finally, MetaTrader's got enough history I can actually go to the top here. But, in hindsight, of course, but it's not really, it's like fractal sight. You're looking at the kind of the way the market behaves in a classic manner. So you could say up here that this is a swing high. And if you sold at the market at the end of that week, in the previous week even, and you did not, or you bought this, even here it was down, okay? Just if the market orders like that, okay, it's down, buy, upsell. Sounds really simple, and it makes sense because it usually works on the chart. Unfortunately, how tight was your stop? It always comes down to this problem. Because even if you sold here and shorted Bitcoin, if you did not sell like a ton of it, okay, you're like, okay, well, maybe this is my next chance to sell. A lot of people are bullish here. I'll do it. I wouldn't sell. It's going up. What are you, fucking nuts? So contrarian traders have to be stop hunters. I mean, they're really kind of coming after the money management people. So having the buy limit here where everybody's stop is, okay, kind of a scalp. Not the best. Here's another window. You're buying all the way in here. Okay, that was a good trade, right? For a dead cat bounce. Surely you could have sold at the market. Your market orders allow you to go against your stops and your limits. You're not breaking any rules. It's not. You have to have a three thing approach because there are some great market trades out there. Oh God, look at this fucking thing. Are you kidding me? And building a position at the market inside of a triangle and then saying, oh, you know what? And if you have a bias on that, you don't have to, because if it breaks out of that triangle and you do take profits that are so deep, it'd be crazy. So Bitcoin's in an interesting spot here. Definitely made it back to the home plate. So everybody's kind of healed that brutal crush. And why is it so brutal? Because the window goes back to here, this hole. When we looking at the holes, and here's the hole. And they had this thing trapped below this top here. This double top. So here was your, like, I guess you call this a triangle wedge. I'm looking at here, I guess they call this ascending triangle. I don't know what the fuck. But if I did it on closing prices, it's more dramatic. It looks more obvious on the close because I can cut off that without breaking a rule. In drawing, I can draw this on this top. 1, 2, 3 touches on that. And we have a swing low and close that is slightly higher. So we have, support there. And then we did know that Once they tipped in this window here, this would be the first place where stop and reverse people are going to get in there. And then, of course, this one. And then there's this giant. And this is why you blow into this window so hard, because that is such a vac of hell. I mean, that's a lot. That's a long, wow. And we really didn't have I guess this is your top become a bottom right here. There's a little mini top here, becomes a bottom. And of course, at this point, you have another triangle within the triangle. You've got this one you can draw, at least a trend line. We can draw a trend line here, we can draw a trend line here. So always a place to hang a trend line on closing prices, but not necessarily in the wicks. That's why the wicks suck for trend lines, because they give you trend lines like this that don't really make any sense. So I never draw trend lines on. I only draw horizontals on highs and lows, because that's what the market can only see back into this profile of you. So we have the, let me just get rid of these lines here. Let's start over here a little bit. So I should be able to just start over from scratch and just see it really quickly. For me, I'm going to say, I see this big giant fucking hole. And I would just put buy limits in there. I don't know if I made enough money. Of course, I'd buy more here for the scalp. So this is the scalp window. And of course, I'm buying all the way down here to whatever. But I just don't think we're going to go there next week. So I think it's more like, okay, I'd be cashing out here, selling that window. It's going to be a tremendous window. It's crazy. Yeah, we might even make it back to here. This would blow people's minds, actually. You know, there's sellers here in this little cut there. And of course, for the market's view, this is the oldest hole known. And it's reaching into that. But, we did reject this floor in a way. This big monster floor we are kind of cutting through. There'll be a bunch of hell to pay in here, sideways action coming. This is such a profound move. And it is rifling through the floor, the auction floor. And of course, it's got hell to pay for the bulls are going to get their ass handed to them up here and all sorts of chop. And we still have the people that haven't got in yet. I'm sure they'd love to see it come back to this. And here's your classic failure in this first auction down here, where you have a bottom become a top. And the sellers do come in. They come in like clockwork, but this is the monster pivot. The horizontal view here on this, the very nearest pivot, because the stuff really here, that's why I kind of turned off my big giant across the board line, because to me this doesn't matter. Like the story of Bitcoin revisiting this doji here and ricocheting off that and then finally plunging into the abyss that's been stacking up all in here, which is the big monster, the elephant in the room there, this big fucking hole. So we fell in there, and now we just have this huge kind of, I guess if we die down here, which I suspect we do. Otherwise, if we have a rip your face off, we got a lot of territory up here, and this is going to be a huge selling window here. Anybody that bought in at 20 is going to get out at 10 easily. It looks like a penny stock. So yeah, this is a monster. Look at this thing, 20. So I can't get a higher number on here, unfortunately. I can't speculate to. So if I just compress this one notch, it'll change the whole picture pretty dramatically, I think. It's amazing what compression does. Looks very bullish there, I must say. See here, it looks so shallow, like, wow, and here it's like, really? If you zoom in like this, you have a completely different view. That's the weekly Bitcoin. Just so right this window, we're up on the critical window, and of course, you got to believe people are going to sell like nuts in here. It's going to be crazy. On the daily, here's your top here's your double bottom on the daily. So I'm sure there was a reversal here in RSI because it's slightly higher. At least a 2-period RSI. There's a double bottom here. Of course, here's the stop hunt. So if you're going to run trailing limits on the daily, your first fill is here where they stop hunt the do-gooders that run the trailing stop. I move it every day, just like told me. I put my buy stop here, and what I did was, just like Hank told me, I put protection here, and I cancel replays, called the broker, put one here, and I put one there, stopped me out, took a profit. Yep, stopped me out, made this much. There's nothing wrong with that. Not that there's anything wrong with trading like that. I made this much. I did what they told me. I put a stop down here just in case. No, I actually put a stop here. No, luckily I guess you'd have to put your stop here to be a faithful breakout trader. A lot of risk. So, or you could have moved your stop. Here's where you want to tighten up your entries, though. If you did have a buy stop here, I think you want to trail it here. So buy stop, buy stop, buy stop. Okay, you're filled. Then you could put in your goober. I put my stop in here, and it cancel here. They stopped you out. So here's the first place to get it. The first stop hunt. Jed, what you got to do now, you got to tune this. I'll try to explain this to my tequila buddy. I mean, this guy is a very intelligent person, even though he drinks tequila. And I said, if we just run trailing buy stops on the inside of this thing, we'll just get picked up by default, And I thought he'd go, oh, that's so cool. But he was a gambler. He wanted to trade the market. I said, well, if we just kind of mechanically get in here, we can just make. If I got to count it on him to be sober to place the orders, though. So here's your classic trend trade on Bitcoin. Got trend line here, drew it just like that, and kind of broke it a little bit, I guess, if I was being fair about it. Came very close here, kind of broke a little bit. Broke this trend line, though. So if you were scalping it on the daily, you could see I broke here, got in. Yeah. Look at this pivot. We have a triple top on the daily. Almost get a double bottom clean on the daily, and then definitely go through. But this is the brutal stop hunt. When we come back to backfill that, regardless of whatever your momentum trading, which has got to be closing prices. Come on. These momentum people have to understand that the doji is a low momentum event. It opened, it closed, nothing happened. It's not going anywhere. Yes, I know there's this. There's this brutal fucking wick that just sheared the fuck out of everything that was doing all these. In the quieter the market gets, the more the stops are stacking up. So there's stops here. I don't know. It's this big stop hunt. The whole fucking thing is a goddamn stop hunt. So here comes the faithful goober bot. The one that's going to come and save you from getting hurt. The nanny bot. Government runs these stop bots, I like that. And they had that for the stock market. They got circuit breakers in now. Can't have the people jumping out windows no more. 87 crash, savings and loan. Well, here's your first little stop hunt. Right? And then it rips. But this is low volatility, and it's just like, holy shit. Plus, don't forget there's diligent buy stop guys in there too. They get filled, and of course, it's just going to be selling frenzy, anything above here for all the big heavy hitter swing traders, and they gobble that shit up on limits. And of course, there is the guy that sells on confirmation that we actually made it to this fucking window. No, I'm not waiting for this to get in on the downtrend. Yeah, I could have a trend line here and say, look, it's going to go down, but you have to ask yourself, Really? This is like all of a sudden right here. And even if you're right, and you were, don't forget, this guy was right about this trade. He drew a trend, and you could have drawn a trend line on close. You assume this is the shoulder. You sell. You're like, holy shit, I love this trading thing. As this thing plunges, you've got to be aware of this situation. Okay, there are eager buyers, willing buyers. Yeah, this is like level look back trading. Yeah, there's got to be some. And even if there's not, they just gobbled up all the sells. That's why it just ran out. It just all these sell bots were involved here. We also had the maybe people were selling up into here, for God's sakes. They sold this trap. It was trap to trap. Then after this astounding day of insanity, I can only imagine what the news was. Well, Bitcoin had some controversy. No, dude, it moved, and then people had to go to the news and invent the news. Right? So all news is fake about the markets. It's all fake. Fundamentals is all fake too, because there's a black market. Okay, there's an underground. There's stuff that's happening that is not reported. Okay, so how can you say that the news makes sense? That no, you know what? Whatever legislation's been done is what's causing it. The obvious interpretation is when you deregulate and you let people have stuff, they do much better efficient job than the government, so people prosper under freedom. Obviously, right? If you have people with a gun to their head and you're going, okay, like the bias today is bullish, what's your trade going to be? I mean, this is why would you even want to put yourself under that boot hill of, well, I'm bearish about the market. Jetson is going down. I'm like, dude, what time frame are you on? Like, are you on the tick chart? I mean, or are you just trying to grab 8 pips and get the fuck out? Are you trying to position yourself for the next 3 years because fundamentals are going to fucking catch up to the market will wake up? I heard this guy from Traders Way, Wayne Dyer, say, well, the market's wrong. The market's just, you can tell when the market's wrong about, because if you look at fundamentals, the market's wrong. Well, the market's always right because it's the current price. It's just the history is wrong. In other words, you are here now, but if you take into account the history and create a narrative behind you based on the narrative of price generally moving in one direction or the other, over the, you're saying, well, we're in an uptrend. Oh yeah, you're in an uptrend now. What about the next 5 hours or the next 5 days or the next 5 years? Well, it's ridiculous to talk about making money at it if you don't have like a hard number of risk per ticket. So you always have to start with risk per ticket. I guess what I'm trying to say in the end is that, yeah, if you've never traded before, I'm working on this person that I'm trying to get to. They actually said to me, buy low, sell high. And I feel, okay. In other words, they know what that means. So, okay, so the next step is going to be, how much money do you want to? So let's imagine you're going to build a house. Well, how much is it per square foot? Right. So that kind of number is a place you can attach your brain to. And if you're buying square foot of this, it's let's say the market's like a plant that's growing. Okay, well, how many square feet of my greenhouse have to be to get this plant to be profitable? Okay, I'm going to have to add some more fucking tiles. It's going to cost, and then you're putting in tickets, limit orders in the market, right, to accommodate this beast of a fucking plant that you've never grown before. Don't forget these plants are random, have a random growing rate. I forgot to tell you, yeah, it's not like you get to pick the species of plant. Well, I guess in the market you can. It's a guppy or it's a fucking watching paint dry in the dollar Swiss or something. Of course, these markets do go berserk once they find a hole. Once they find the place to creep into, and of course they can become rogue at any moment, right? Become like a wildebeest. So I think that's what you're really dealing with, because it's really unknown. History has not been written in the future, so we don't know how stuff is going to respond here. We could get psychotic prices. We could get high volatility. Like, that's my kind of fear, is that volatility is not something people are used to. So if you go to the gas pump and it's like fluctuating 50 cents a week, and people are like, that's kind of like, well, that's kind of crazy fucking price. Yeah, but people are making money. Another problem with inflation is it gives disorientation to your psychology. Like if you're used to the when I was a kid, we had dime stores, but because of inflation, we have dollar stores. And now there's like the $5 store, and really those kind of notches that you kind of think about the stability of things. I mean, okay, yeah, I guess if you can afford your bill and all that stuff, but I don't know. People may not like it if the price of their internet connection goes up because of some type of fallout from something else, or just the whole, you know, people have money. Prices probably would try to fill that, and if the volatility kicks up, then some stuff will be on sale and stuff still be ridiculously priced, and people will scratch their head a little bit. And I don't know if that could create like some type of problem for people, but who knows? People usually can just bury their head in some app and listen to some piece of music. And I listened to this one piece of music last night on a loop, and I was just so in love with it. I said, I'm going to put that on and YouTube looped it, because before it was the loop would die. So I ran like 5 hours of one tune. It sounds so good, even though I'm not a big fan of auto-tune voice, man. It sounds so good. I said, like the most premium bass synths, amazing shit. So there's an outlet for the incoherentness of the world. People still out, climbing mountains and stuff. Not everybody's in front of their computer talking about the price action, price movement, price history. But Bitcoin's a fascinating one, I must say. And of course, the bulls are just chomping at the bit. They just want to get this thing up into that hole, cash out. I'm sure I would if I was in the Bitcoin, if I was a member of the cult of Bitcoin. But what a nice walk here on the last since April. And I do think, and I hate to sound like a conspiratorialist, but the April 15th thing, I don't know if the big, who knows? I think people run places, or people, of course it's halfway through the year too. So, the year's half over, and that's a cycle. So maybe it has nothing to do with the amount of money in circulation, which is April 15th typically. A lot of digital returns, probably instantly updated or something. But look at this thing screaming. But I would definitely be cashing out right here and now on this. This is 3 drive, can't you see? I call that the 1 drive. I get the fuck out right here. Amazing price. So, hey, you're only down, if you got in at 12,000, you're only down X. They say you don't lose till you sell. So yeah, people long term. People look at this view, kind of spooky, right to the apex of the. I would definitely be cashing out. This is definitely before the hell, before we just sheared this thing off. Boy, when we got to this one, you were like, holy shit, even this guy. So the big brawny limit order entry guys that can handle the punishment, they bought everything from here down, I guarantee you, the Lonely Wick. And they got in and they just loaded. This is a Williams fractal too. So that's, if you put the Williams fractals on there, they're probably going to show up at least here. Another goofy tool. That's actually the only decent tool is his fractal tool, I suppose. Very objective view. Although if you watch it trade on your playback, a strategy tester, you'll see that it looks very. She's not on my list there. Okay. But I hope I got the right color. Did I go blue? So we have fractal here, boom, boom. So these 2 Williams fractals are stacking up if you want a real objective thing. But the problem is when it's playing back, this will be a fractal, and then Sometimes it goes away, but actually I'm just going to consider this to be, it's going to be a fractal. But certainly this one here, stop hunting these lonely fractals. Wow, right? So you're really going to trade against Bill Williams here. You're going to fade the Williams thing. Right? You're going to sell up here. And after you see that thing formed, you're down here by there and you're just going, oh yeah, that was good. I would have got in there anyways. Here you could actually place the order here because this fractal does exist. Here you put the buy limit on the top of these guys. Obviously to come in the other way. And then you're definitely going to start selling like you can't fucking believe up here. This one's hidden. This doesn't exist anymore for the market. The price is dead. It got cleared out by this rally here. So I don't see that. I see this one, though, being a punisher for the bulls. Are going to get just demolished in there, just crushed to pieces. It's going to be something else if you can take out this high, though. But well, you got a lot of work to do there. Not to mention the this double bottom here. I go with the Williams double bottom. It actually kind of pulls it out of the market. Makes it, you can actually see that price, which I guess that's a good thing. Because it's hard to see that this turned. Such a mess. I wish that the Williams fractals based on the closing prices kind of be better. But I don't know what the code's coming from. Look at this, all these Williams fractals before you just explode. Just go berserk. So Williams would buy on this. He'd buy a break out of that. And you're running the trailing. So the weekly, there's not a lot of fractals. Just one monster fractal down here. Let's see, Bill Williams would be short right now from trading a break out of those, and he's underwater. No fractals showed up here, but I'm looking at these. I'm going to call these as my fractals. Instead of 5 bars, I'm just going with 1 or 2 bars. That's insane. It's fascinating. I think there's going to be a lot of people just getting the fuck out as soon as we touch this window on the monthly. That's going to be it. I can't stretch this thing now. Fucked it up. I gotta go and then come back in again. Real math issue in here. Actually, I think we gotta go like this. So here's the dailies. Here's the weeklies. Insane. Boy, those people would be happy to get the fuck out anywhere up in here. So the people that did buy, here's the big monster pivot on close. Where this bottom here became a top. A lot of people sold that and got trapped short, I suppose. I mean, from that structure trendline rule. If you had a trend line here, so imagine you were going to do this trade. You say, well, here's a bottom become a top. I'm going to draw a trend line like this. And I'm going to trade that. That's where you got burned. So breakout, come back for confirmation. This way you can't just trade one strategy. I don't know how people are doing it. This is the breakout. So the traps the buy people, but the sellers have it. Comes back to the trend line, and they're right about the trade. It's going down, but the problem is it's going down into the as soon as it takes out this, wow. And this is kind of over as far as price pulse. Down, pull back, hang your hat off this, and then you get the supposedly measured move. It fails. Not until waiting for like 13 weeks or some shit here. Does it come and retest here? Even get near that for the amazing deep discount here, and then it breaks this trend line. Trend line here finally breaks. Then the relief valve comes back to this weekly top, cuts into that hole, grab it, just keep on raping. Anybody that thinks it's going to keep going. Here's the big inverted hammer. Trap all of these fractal breakout people are all trapped and just raped. Then it just goes into severe like, uh-oh. Meanwhile, this whole thing's been pending up. And all the wave 4 guys, this is wave 3 in Elliott wave. This is supposed to be wave 4. They're like, oh yeah, man, wave 5. We're going to make so much money. I'm sure, right? Who wouldn't make that? But, okay, for one trade plan, that's okay. But, this is the infamous hot spot. This is the whole problem. Now, for the people that have big balls, they put a bunch of fucking heavy hitter tickets in here based on this. And that it goes way back and it's this big fat wedge. Because see, these steep moves like this, you kind of have to trade that whole steep move. But when it's wedged like that, man, that's a lot of compression. And then it's just cleaned down. And literally, if you bought at the market here, you bought at the market, there's 3 buys at the market, it's down, you're buying. Okay, maybe you scalp off this one, but this one's all the way back to break even and up. You bought here, you were up here. And notice it's down hard, up hard, right? There is no, I can't say no. Typically, if it's going to, because here's a drift up, shear down. Well, drift up, kind of fast up, but kind of drift down. Here's a drift down and then hard up. But the ingredient here is it's kind of hard down here in that same window. So when it makes up this, when it heals this move, it's quick. Actually, this faster move, I think, because of this wedge. This is the cup and handle trader, the inverted cup. This is the inverted cup. And but see, the problem is these vacuums, because they're kind of dependent on what's going on, they keep smaller, not tradable with the wrong stop. So definitely the hardest thing trading is going to be, do I have a trade plan for this weekly situation from either a limit standpoint or a stop or a market standpoint, and how much am I going to risk per trade, per ticket? And of course now it becomes very kind of complicated. Because if you are selling up into this, so let's say you sold every big bar up, sell, and then you really sell a lot because it's up a lot. Now it's very counterintuitive because, wow, if it was really up, why would you sell? Are you fucking nuts? But you sold more here, and I'm saying you risked more because you ran a bigger stop. Maybe these are all one case, but this one's got a big stop. And maybe you have to get out of this one when it comes back to here. And maybe you have to see that this is going to be the problem if the volatility does kick up, is that when the market's moving like this, by the time you discover, and this could be a weekly, this could be a daily chart, which is going to be pretty extreme there, that in the last 10 days, you basically are actually underwater, even though you were so up on the trade, because the volatility, depending whether you got out of anything along the way, is just going to be the hardest thing, is keeping the size right. So imagine you had a store that was, you had something in the store that was so popular that people were like, kind of lined up outside. You had to call police and pay for all this shit. And then the next week, nobody's there. What the fuck? Nobody. You have to lay people off. Now the swings in equity, you have to lay people off. Now you have people come in. So most businesses don't run the way the markets behave. So psychologically, people are expecting, well, can I just use a moving average, and can I get something that's kind of like, well, you could, but then it's not realistic as far as what the market's really doing. Like if I put a moving average on Bitcoin, you can see how that I could probably cherry pick like 3 trades in the weekly, but then the rest of it is untradeable because the your holy grail has not got any signals, it's not spitting out any advice. It's not expertly advising you. So that's another problem. Like so, it's really like now you could go from sector to sector rotation looking for markets that are dead. So you're actually, instead of just Forex, you're looking at stocks, even penny stocks. I was talking to a guy today about penny stocks. I said, I love penny stocks. It reminds me of like this Bitcoin. It reminds me of, you know, yeah, that is a fantastic, fun thing. Because actually they're making some stupid robot or something. The next stupid robot. And of course, same story in Litecoin and all these other coins. But, it's just how it is. I drew these lines a while ago. So these lines hold up on this chart. We knew that buyers, they never made it back to here, though. Never made it back. So if you're going to be really cheap, sometimes you have to come in at the market. You got to buy this because it's down big. Buy a little bit. Buy with tight stops on these. Buy with wide stops on the big moves. And you got yourself into 3, and they never filled your fucking limits. So, if you really can afford to have a spectrum of order, depth of orders that are your own tailored, right, this has a purpose. This is like the trade. If you have a 300 pip stop, if you're allowed to trade with a 300 pip stop, you can be very creative. You can put it in a lot of different markets, risking $30 a trade. And you have a lot of time to be right and wrong. So that's just a psychological kind of hindrance, is that if you're focusing on some, amazing double confirmation entry that's been back tested and does better than random, and it's this tuned, I've heard this a million times. It's tuned, it's just, it could do no wrong. Well, as soon as the volatility kicks up, the math is just it doesn't work, right? You can't build a car for a road that goes from a 0 to the top speed only being 100 for 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden the top speed's 500 miles an hour, but just only for one day. So one day the market's doing 500 miles, and your car goes 500 miles an hour one day. The other day it's doing 120, and we don't know when it's going to come back to the super top speed. It may get up there, and then, hey, maybe it's going to exceed that speed. That rate of change is kind of shocking to people. I'm just saying it's disorientating, because also the number it ends up at could be disorientating. Because if it goes down, nobody minds when computers get really cheap, and they're cheap as fuck. It's incredibly scary how cheap they are. So something has to offset that. And certainly labor, gold is priced based on what people think it's worth. So we're on a gold standard. We're on everything standard. Everything is pretty standard, I think. These markets are pretty liquid. I think unless you're into something like real estate where it's hard to roll the thing over, but if you're in these markets, you could flip a house in like an hour. You could trade you could trade the price of a home. Another way to explain it to people is, would you flip a house in a week if you thought you could make, with minimal risk? You're risking $500 to flip a house in a week, and you make $500. Oh, that sounds like a good deal. So if you explained house flipping to people, they'd say, well, what you're going to do here is you need at least 10 grand in your account as a down payment to flip the house, and that's the money in your account, right? So another way to explain it to trading, it's really a real estate transaction because it's such a big number. Yeah, 2 standard lots. Yeah, it's just some little fucking starter home I'm flipping. I don't know, in whatever town houses go for that price. Well, how long do I have to be in the house to flip it? Well, you gotta price the market at these good prices. How long do you think that price is gonna last? And what's the turnover rate? And you might not even want to see a chart at that point. You're just looking at numbers. Oh, looks like the houses in this area go for this. I mean, everybody has these ridiculous like Gartley patterns on top of data, but if you just looked at the number, you'd say, oh, that sounds like how much does it go for? Oh. And some guy writes the math out. It's a completely different approach to trading than looking at these charts and having this story about why this is turning here and why it's done going there, and that place is that's been tested. That's a tested price. People typically, this is where we run out of, or the market's satisfied, saturated, right? All the houses in that area have sold, and we're waiting for a new house to come on the market so we can see what is the going rate. Because until we test the water with a real trade, until we see the people come in, right? And we see, oh, there's interest in that, and now there's an auction, right? It's either auctioning down because we can't find anybody and somebody has to dump. And there's going to be people come in, I mean, the big boys, or I say the people, deep pockets, I guess doesn't mean by big boys, but they're there to support the market anyways. I mean, they're the ones that are supplying the liquidity. So in a sense, they're just filling a need, right? So if everybody had money, maybe the loan departments aren't making any money because at some point, maybe interest rates get so high, people are actually putting money in the fucking bank. They're actually loaning out real money they have, and then maybe people say, well, I'm going to get around my goal because I feel safe. I mean, is gold being driven up by every fucking prepper? I don't know. It's really, all this stuff is kind of ridiculous because it's not going to change the way you're going to trade the market in a way to talk about fundamentals. I mean, just don't get the whole fundamental view. And even Bitcoin, like, what the fuck? I just say, God, that thing is just so fucking punished. I mean, it's time to think about like accumulating some of this thing and then just do a hard dump. And then come back in with like a more shallow, depending on the volatility. But it may be untradeable like some of these instruments because you'd be like, oh my God, this thing's moving like, it's not that it's moving up and up and up every day. It's moving up and down, up and down. So there's this kind of, I wouldn't say it volatility. If the market's kind of drifting up and just keeps drifting up, I wouldn't call it volatility. It's kind of like people expecting that. This is like a low noise, looks like a moving average. The problem is when the market goes berserk. Well, what's going to happen when, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but look at this, look at the stocks, all-time highs. You don't think it's going to get vicious? Like, all it takes is some type of aha moment for people to realize, well, after all, like, we're the only guys. Somebody's got to say, am I like the last person to think this is bullish? I got so much confirmation I could just die from confirmation. I wonder if we're in some type of, maybe this is the top. And then all it takes is a lot of people thinking that, or just the classic, the void left behind from all the excitement in either direction. But yeah, what happens when it fills, and then, like I said, the swings would get maybe spiky. I guess I'm painting a doomsday scenario, but it does seem like things are pretty good. I mean, stocks could be, this is not the place to buy. Like, if you didn't get in, I think it's time to think about putting some limits in below. I don't know. I really don't trade stocks, but man, I'm telling you, I'd be scared. If the market gets really hot, I just step aside. I guess that's why people don't trade the news, because of the volatility. But that's going to happen, right? You suspect when the news comes out. But I'm talking about stuff that all of a sudden, what if these aren't news events? It's just stuff gets really crazy every day. And the slightest bit of news is going to be like, and maybe when they come out with FOMC what if they raise the interest rates because the economy is overheating? This is always the cure that I'm pretty sure what just my thinking about it. And I'm not expert on the Fed, but supposedly they're supposed to be the people that are in the soft landings and all this shit. So that view there would be funny is if they're like, whoa, wait a minute, this economy is just too good. And people are, and it's going to be a bail-in. They're going to raise the interest rates at the banks. And I was just at the bank today, and the girl that was managing the bank, I was like, oh my God, are you out of a catalog? And it's like, granted, she had makeup on. But the girl that was punching in after her had those kind of fake lashes where when she blinks, it creates like a little bit of disturbance in the atmosphere. It's like there's like a wind shear. Planes can't get near. I mean, almost like Cheryl, almost like from the like I Love Lucy kind of eyelashes. Wow, what's going on out there, people? Come on, just tame down. You know what? Just take a risk and be yourself. You don't have to have 5 pounds of makeup on. It's just amazing. But maybe it's Maybelline. I mean, it's an industry unto its own. But if you are going to trade these markets, which is fun, I suppose, the coins. Yeah, it's kind of. I mean, the market kind of has a bot. As they would say in technical analysis, classic technical analysis, that the Bitcoin put a bottom in. The bottom's in. Well, for the moment, the bottom is in for the moment. So, at least this one, we have this bottom. Look forward to get it taken out. So all trends come to an end. All trend lines made to be broken. All highs are made to be faked out or broken out for real. They're all laying there. But the charting is weird. I mean, I do look at like a lie detector test or some type of data coming in, and the line chart to me was my savior because it just cleaned everything up, took the noise out. And the noise is the wicks. In my view, the noise is a flash bash or a flash crash, flash rally. It doesn't. I mean, it is tradable, but it's not the kind of this view of price over time, which is the line chart, because that price could have happened at any moment during that week. It could have just been just a very quick and dirty move, or it could be a nice smooth. We can't see inside the weekly unless we go to the daily, and then forget about it, right? Who cares? We can just picture in our mind's eye. If we see a big wick on the weekly, that must have been an amazingly quick and dirty money there. Very quick and dirty. So, yeah, it's kind of fun here. I think that I would definitely be happy if I was long from, I'd probably lighten my position up. Maybe not go flat, but how much more drift can we get out of this thing as we kind of come up into this window here? Not going to be able to resize that. Chart's all fucked up from all my previous manipulations. Almost have to put the number in here myself. Let it go auto adjust here. So right there. If you would have sold, we got 10 minutes left in the market in Forex. So if you would have sold up there, I guess we healed that gap and then some. Daily view, zoomed out. I'm looking for the entry point here where we went crashing through the oldest fractal is here. We just blew that out, and it came up in this bottom here, this doji window, and a lot of people sold that. Plus, they were selling into these fractals new highs, and they gave you that insane wick, and here comes the buyers again. The limit buyers gobble that shit up. The market order guys kind of lost on that because they bought this pullback. They did not get this ripe and juicy price, although, they are up on the trade if they bought every fucking day. Every fucking day you bought this at the market. I'm sorry, this is a real trade plan. I bought, 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 and I bought, and I bought, and I bought. Right? I mean, that's not bad. I'm adding to a winner. I'm letting my profits run, adding to a winner. Maybe I come up with a goober stop like this. Now here's where it gets shaky. If I didn't get out of any of these fucking things, my liability's stacking up, and that's why we see the market sell off like a motherfucker. I mean, at some point, people have to see this view. That if you bought here, you bought. You don't buy that. You don't buy that. You buy here. And then you're like, oh man, this thing's going to the moon. And it's like, ruh-roh. Well, these last two tickets here, you've almost come back to break even. You just fucked yourself. Yeah, because somebody, when it's going up, they're selling. Even if they sold here and here, that was a scalp. Now, the guy that's trading against you when you're buying, depending on his stop, his frequency, sell. Although he's really not at the top. He sells because it's up. Sell, sell, sell. He takes profits, right? You can see why it's coming, why this is a pivot now, because there is a guy that sold there. Not that he's tugging the whole market, but don't forget they're all the sell stops that got triggered and then it's capitulation and we just run out of tickets. Everybody's balanced. This is the market profile view, is imbalance to balance. Dojis are balanced. Imbalance is this fucking hard up shit, hard down shit. Hard up, you sell. Sell. Okay, this one, unless you stayed for the wick, right? You didn't make that. You didn't do too. I'm sorry. What am I saying? You did really good, right? You sold maybe here, and you sold here. You could have made a lot more if you stayed for that whole wick, but you still technically made money. And of course, you had to be aware of this whole. This is all the pent up demand that caused that quick, brutal move. Now, I would be selling here, and I'm going to sell all the way into here, and I'm going to scalp the pullback. There's no other trade for me right now. I'm not going to fucking buy it. And I might sell at the end of the day. So this daily chart too. This could be a 4-hour chart. It doesn't matter. It's just going to be harder to trade the 4-hour chart, right? 4-hour chart's going to be more work because we have more trades. So it's down, buy, it's up, sell. It's a very simple way. This is a 4-hour chart. Now this is a lot more trading frequency, a lot more position building. Down hard, I buy, right? It's down, I buy, down, 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 buy. Now here's where I got, if I bought here, I'm starting to get trapped. And because I left too much real estate behind uncharted, right? And here's where it really comes in. Bam. This would be your shoulder, head, shoulder. Only a double top in the fractal. See, here's the shoulder for so there's two head and shoulders there. There's closing head and shoulder, right? Kind of a failure because it didn't keep tanking. You could say this is the shoulder on the close. This is the head, but this is definitely the head and shoulder here, head. But does it mean that you made a bunch of money? Well, you probably made something here. It's really tough. I mean, right now, getting my buy limits are getting filled. So buy limits here, sell limits there. So I'm just waiting to get filled. I'm going to buy all the way to here, and this would be a great place to buy this wedge. So I'm anticipating a crush here. I put buy limits in. I sell limits above, and I just come back and I make sure there's no rogue waves. But there's nothing else you can do from a limit standpoint. This is letting the market come to you. Or did you sell at the market up here? And if I miss this trade, I know that even if I got in here, I would have already got out on something at the scalp point, which is as soon as we start tagging this could be a trap. I'm getting out. All right, I'm not gonna ride that. And if we come back here, I could sell the one at the market if I'm still bearish. and another crop of sell limits up here. But always going to put buy limits in here. And as we come down here, this is a bigger ticket. This is bigger than the other one. This is the biggest ticket. And these are super big tickets here to buy the rest of the year, right? I'm just going to donate. Of course, I don't have to place the orders now, but I'm always thinking this is going to be ripe, the ripe buying area. Okay, well, that's Bitcoin. So, Bitcoin, fucking nuts, out of control, needs help. The daily's on its hair. The weekly, we can see we're coming in this window. And we could scream through that also. There's no restrictions on anything. This could just take off like a blistering, just like a rape date. And the thing is that it has happened, right? So before this peak here, don't forget, there was this moment in time where it was drifting down. People were like, Bitcoin's pretty fucked. And as soon as it went down here and stop hunted, this guy, it was right here. I can only imagine I would love to get hold, and I could do it because I can mark off the day. Give me all the headlines of Bitcoin here. Yeah, Bitcoin's fucking, it's just fake, dude. It's just not real. And then once it takes this out, it's like, holy shit. You almost get a top bottom here in the close, but we come back to this top, and then holy shit. Yeah, no kidding. 4-week blow off top. 5 weeks, shear your fucking brain off. That's pretty amazing. But penny stocks do the same shit. I traded penny stock. I got a stock at 30 cents down here. I swear to God to you. Like here was $4 on this thing. The initial public offering at like $4 or $8. And this thing got us set up like this, and I bought it. Went right to $4. You gotta love Bitcoin. That's the fucking digital penny stock is what the fuck it is. It ain't worth shit. It's just a goddamn. It's just people think it's worth something. It's just worth whatever. No dividends on Bitcoin. It's just black market. It's just black market. That's all to it. It is underground economy. It's a relief valve because actually, if the markets, the other conventional markets, come unwrapped, then Bitcoin would also be, since you're coming into the weekend now, if something bad happens on the weekend, I'm just saying Bitcoin will be the only place to, because you can trade the euro against the Bitcoin, it's the only derivative that people are going to jump to, because until the Forex market opens back and the stock open back on a Monday, what I think is going to happen is another doomsday prediction. Something bad's going to happen on the weekend, and the markets won't have a chance to there'll be a big order imbalance coming in because people will be like, holy shit. And of course, if the first tick quote is down, there are people that will pull the trigger at the market. But the problem is that the stops are already stacked up. All the money management algos are sitting out there trying to protect people from volatility in either direction, and not everything is, but there are the so-called big boy money is, they trade safe, right? This is why people are trying to teach, like, this is how you trade like this, all safe. But yeah, but if you're an individual private trader, you can out-trade any hedge fund, because the hedge fund is waiting to get clearance from office member number so-and-so. He's on vacation. He can't clear the trade for another week. Meanwhile, the market's moving. For a private person with high leverage, it's a decent trade. You know, it's not like these guys are scalping the market. And all the relief levers are already in place. I'm sure they've already got, if it goes to here, do this, or if they've already got their stops, or however they're doing it. Besides, it's a big giant. You can't even, there's not one, like the big boy idea is just, it's a group of people. There's not one guy, you know. It's one fat finger out there. It's going to destroy all the markets. It's ridiculous. But yes, certainly fascinating. The Bitcoin thing. Now that it's come back up, people are all of a sudden the credibility, because there is a cost of mining the coin. So that's around $4,000. They're saying I guess it's like owning a password, really. So you're really paying to have an account. In other words, you're kind of like, I don't know. Are people investing in Bitcoin, or are they just? It's just a standard of value for what a digital transaction cost, I guess, right? On the most popular platform or the most popular instrument to, because if you traded gold and you didn't own gold, right? I mean, there's people that own gold hoping it's going to appreciate. There's people trading it, just making money from the fluctuations over the 5 minutes or 5 days or 5 months. So it's always weird when people talk about, so this person I was talking to about trading, they said, well, they had money in Canada. Should they get it out? Well, how much money? You could always hedge your Canadian deposit position. Yeah, right? You could just to make you feel happy, right? Isn't that why you're trading in the first place? To make money so you can feel happy, so you can do more trading so you feel happy. Because if you feel fulfilled in anything you're doing, it's not going to matter if you're making a ton of money or making a little bit of money. And of course, I guess the challenge is going up against all this kind of canned teaching stuff on the internet, which some of it, what they're saying is true, but without a trade plan, it's kind of like it's just kind of an idea. There's not really anything you make money from there typically. And people are always suspicious, what's this guy doing? Are people selling something? Are they working for a firm? And I mean, they're not trying to be evil. They just, maybe they don't know, or they just, I don't know. I just think some of it's harebrained. It's just hilarious. I mean, it's taken on this whole thing where it's a persona, like, people are like, well, it's a lifestyle Forex guy. Okay, yeah, but I mean, if you're just trading good old boring money, maybe you don't have to drive in a gold-plated car with hookers on your lap. I'm just saying. It's funny that kind of came into you don't see that with stock traders, do you? Maybe I'm missing something. Are the stock trading commercials like some guy with like 10 hookers? Check this shit out. I got Tom Vu, real estate. There you go. Question answered. Even real estate's got I think it got more bling in real estate. Right, lifestyles, rich and famous. Robin Leach, caviar smiles or something. The spread's pretty brutal on this Bitcoin. I don't know. Look at this thing. It's 170 pip spread. Ouch. But yeah, it's going to be something else. Here looks like a good buying opportunity the other day here. We could have bought this. 15-minute chart, though. I know my exit on the 15 is going to be right there. So, yeah, scalping on the 15 looks like that. No fills here, though. Maybe one if I was lucky. I guess here you're waiting forever, then just keep on stabbing it a little bit lower. Yeah, I like buying like here. If I was on the half-hour chart and I had to trade it, gun to your head trading, buy limits all through here, all the way down to this. Actually, I'd buy all the way to here too. So the low of the day. But here is a top become a bottom intraday. So this is the high. This is like the mid high of the day becomes a bottom the next day. So there's your role reversal. That's where you get on a track team. You're a guy, but now you're seeing you're a girl, so you're winning on the track team. It's crazy. The role reversal trading, I've always been a little bit kind of skeptical. Should I be doing that? So here's the argument for these big pivots, but I don't think it matters right now. It's fun to look back like that, but I'm thinking that if I bought everything here and all the way down through here, I'm going to go flat about here, and then I'm done. And maybe I'll put sell limits up here, and then more buy limits super deep here. Just got to see how big I get in on the scheme, right? And hopefully I've scalped out of something here, because this looks like a pretty wicked, quick and dirty drop on that 30. On the 1 hour, it's like, okay. It's like, wow, it's going to take a while. The 1 hour looks like we're going to go down here. And maybe we'll have to go stop hunting, and I will be buying on limits down here. And every hour I could sell. I could have bought here last hour. It's down. It fits in my market trading system. Is it's down by. So what about here, 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 here? What about here, here? And I wouldn't sell. I'd be holding. Trying to cash out into this. My limit system should have filled on something here, and definitely here. So if I'm bullish, I'm buying every pullback at the market, and I'm hoping they fill my limits. So I'm going to buy this. I'm going to buy the stops that have been hunted. Also going to buy if it's down. If I'm bullish, this is a nice double top becomes a bottom structure wise. Plus a little bit of a limit fill. Not the limits that I wanted to fill were here. So I'm kind of disappointed, and the disappointment is filled in by the good old-fashioned market order. Of course, this is the hourly chart. Don't forget you got to be awake. This is the Asian session here. Buying, maybe on a limit here, structure entry. Four-wick tops become a bottom and double top in time, and then market order executed, and hopefully limits. And here I cannot buy at the market because if I'm going to be a disciplined trader, I never buy when it's going up, even though I'm right about that. I hope I bought enough back here, because if I really load it up, and this is the place to get amazing ratios, if I really load it up on this window, because I bought super more there, martingale, and I was ready to buy here, tons. I would have bought tons here. I'm really not oversizing anything because I'm allowing for worst case scenarios. Big hard up move. Could have sold that at the market. Could have. I mean, if I was there. And you have to say that, because unless you were awake for this fucking trade and nailed that base, that's just why you'd want a robot for that. I think you could build a market robot that did buy and sell, but it has to put at least 10 tickets in on that order, because it has to fucking get the fuck out of stuff. And it's really got to be, there's going to be, in other words, what it would be is if the market is up more than 50 pips in an hour, the more than anywhere from 30 to 50 pips in an hour, there's a 30 pip bot, a 35 pip bot, a 40 pip bot. All those bots come in on that trade. The last spot to come in is the 50 pip bot, because the other ones have to have different stops, tighter stops. But that, in other words, that's a unique bot for each amount of pip movement per hour. But there's got to be a 4-hour scheme too. Because if you just build 1 hour bots, you're just going to, it's too redundant. So if you have a daily bot, you could do that trade. 4-hour bot, maybe you couldn't do that trade, or the 6-hour bot or 8-hour bot. But the daily or the 12-hour, you could easily do that. Most people can get to a terminal in 12 hours. And the daily or the weekly is like, wow, you can really go in pretty hard on those with wide stops on that shit. And those trades are amazing trades. But like I said, I wouldn't commingle that with scalping on the same trading account, because you never know if you're making any fucking money from that idea. I mean, I've scalped so many times where I had stuff in the background and I just thought, yeah, this is fucking pissing me off, because I can't tell if I'm really nailing these scalps. I mean, really doing good. It's just too much fucking, I can't listen to 2 radio stations at the same time. Well, I used to. But what I used to, if it was critical news, I had 2 things going while I was working. I couldn't believe it, but I had coffee. I guess I'm doing that now. I watch the market while I'm listening to a podcast, so I guess you know, I guess you drive a car and you think, we're always multitasking. It just seems like commingling the trades, which is like trying to play two instruments at once. Okay, yeah, you can play drums with your feet and guitar with your hands and harmonica with your mouth. You could. I don't know if you're going to kill it on any one of those instruments, right? Because how can you donate all of that if you're just going to play snare drum? You can really get crazy stuff going. Highly detailed stuff. It depends who you are. Some people don't mind being jack of all trades, master of nothing. But I really like to specialize in like, okay, this here, right there, how good can we make this one category? And just dial it in. And find a new pathway maybe to executing this stuff. And of course, the MT4 lets you kind of do quite a bit of stuff in that by yourself as a private person, as opposed to these big, the guys that sit in front of those monitors with level 2 stuff, and they're just trying to get some, maybe their orders, just like I said, it wasn't chosen at the best price. It was just chosen at their dollar cost averaging, I suppose. So I would say this, instead of having to make a one amazing, brilliant decision on each trade, you just run the 20 trade pack, right? This is the Mark Douglas approach. You do 20 trades, you see how you're doing over 20 trades. You don't give yourself say the market's really down and you buy at the market, they stop you out and they go, fuck, man, this is my first fucking trade of this shit. I mean, this is like, really, again? Okay, you start your 20 count. If you go through 20, because just like if you have 20 ex-girlfriends, right? I mean, okay, maybe I'm not good at this, but you just got to kind of forge ahead and not feel rejected or betrayed by the market. And of course, if you are going to stick to the system of every day that it pulls back, well, let's say we do a trade with a bias. The market's going up. Every day it pulls back, I buy at the market. I just keep buying every down day because the overall trend's up. I mean, what more? Do you really need any more indicators? Say you have a stupid-ass 20 period moving average. And every day it's down, you buy. Because the moving average is pointing up, or the market's above that. Okay, go for it. I mean, you're not gonna buy every day because not every day it's down. I mean, that's the most robust system is the crudest system. Once you start to try to like put another filter on, no, sorry, it's not helping. I mean, I'm sure we've all seen the situation where something's broken. I remember as a kid, I broke some piece of ceramic stuff. It wasn't mine, my parents, I think, and I thought, I'll glue it together, and I'm like, holy shit, I should just left it. When I glued this thing together, what a clusterfuck of, like, this is before Crazy Glue. Like, dude, it looks like shit. Yeah, it's together. At a distance, I can see it's together. You come in close, you're like, what in the fuck? It's just, if you're really careful with Crazy Glue, you can almost put it back together without telling. But yeah, these markets are really interesting. The way they just kind of people are trying to put the moving average and the Rankos and the Fibonacci's on it. It's just so cute. Yeah, that's going to work. Well, maybe it does work for that one ticket. But I'd say if you're using Fibonacci, put 10 of them on there, because then you give yourself a buy zone instead of a buy precision. Forget precision. You don't need it. You don't even need it in anything. The Rolling Stones to me is like just sloppy as shit, but man, it sounds good. It's not Dream Theater, you know. It ain't like I mean, there's so much the shit I listened to last night with the fucking auto tune on the chick's voice. I was like, I couldn't stop listening. It's really kind of, not a purest view of singing. It was like she put a raincoat on her voice. It was amazing. So, it's gonna be it's some interesting thing here at the Bitcoin. Hopefully you sold up here at the top there. Okay, let's see now. I'm going to zoom out to the daily. It looks very... Wow. See all the support resistance level. Just turn to mush there. I like the 4-hour view is fine. Yeah, 4-hour view is like, okay, this is where we put our buy limits. Right, you're just going to buy that vacuum. This is all there's to it. S&P 500 trapped everybody at the top. All the bears that sell new highs are just loving it. They want to see how far. They already scalped out to here. That's the monthly. And they're hoping for a raid down here. It's right buying the area here. But the problem is that, man, I'm telling you, I don't know. I guess we are going up here if we can just... But look how vicious it could get, you know. Imagine we come down here. Wow. Oof. All the way back to the starting gate where this top became a bottom on the monthly. No, the volatility is already insane. I'm just talking about the last... This is the new norm. People thought that was volatile. No, I think this is extreme. Look at this. Look at this shit. So only more hell to come. NASDAQ is absolutely bullish, insane. Look at that monthly. God, thing's not letting up. So yeah, you have to buy that on the weekly pullbacks. I think somebody just scalped the top of this thing, and a lot of people probably bought every new low here, and somebody scalped quite a bit on that. Looks like they're already out for the week. They're nice. Buy these deep lows here. So you'd buy more here than you bought here. But you didn't get filled on this ticket necessarily. I don't think you got filled there. Yeah, so that was quite a raid. See how this one worked out? See, this is a real big deal. So there was the buy scalps on the daily. Here you just bought like a ton. You're kind of at break even here, but here you really loaded up because you had this 3-day basement and you just got in like you can't believe here. Here was the big pivot that started the whole procedure. Breakout, pullback. We came all the way back to that. Insane. Once again, you sold because it was up and you're buying as it drips down. Yeah, a lot of fucking crazy shit out there, huh? So, anyways, we'll see what happens with the Bitcoin. It's kind of fun. Bitcoin marches on.